Do it.
So I'm like doing like triple multitasking, trying to sneak in some work. I got my A's on the TV.
Yeah, so you got it going on. I'm
But
on the clock too, so I'm getting it in the double shift.
I hear you. So let's get started. I got my man Milton Clark. We've talked to him before when we did the Coaches Insider coming off your first CIF championship. So this is going to be your fifth or fourth year?
This is going to be going into my fourth year.
Okay. So year 4, head coach at Madison High School.
Oh, no, sorry. It's 5. I'm a year behind.
Okay. Well, that's why I was confused because I know you didn't been to the ship three out of the 4, so I figured it had to be 5, but I didn't want to correct you.
Nah, you got to correct me sometimes.
So coming off of third straight CIF appearance, right? You won 2, went to 3. So, yeah, I'm glad we could get you on here for the ZoomCast.
Thank you.
I always like to start off with just how'd you get started? Where would you say your basketball journey started, whether it be your playing career, your coaching career? Where did the love or the passion or whatever for the basketball for you first get started?
I mean, I think it started when I was a kid. I moved out to San Diego when I was about 10 years old. And when I first got out here, I didn't know nobody. So I just go to the park to try to make friends and whatnot. And that's all we did was play basketball Memorial Rec, Boys and Girls Club. So, I mean, that's when it started for me. And back when I was playing, not saying my age and then, but AAU wasn't that big. So you only had a couple teams. You had Rising Stars, you had Stockton Knights just starting, you had High Five America. So, I mean, and it was hard to get on AAU's travel team back then. It wasn't as big as it is now. So I was just a rec kid playing rec ball year round, you know what I mean? So, and it started then. I fell in love with basketball, but I always also loved football too. So football was my first love and basketball was my second love.
So I know you're heavily involved in the football thing. Did you ever see yourself as a basketball coach, or did you always just think it was going to be football?
I always thought it was going to be football. I mean, I like to play basketball, but football was my calling, I think, just because it's something I've been doing all my life. But once I started coaching basketball, everything just came so natural. It was easy, and it's fun. It's fun making adjustments on the fly. It's way different than coaching football, where you got to prep and prepare for everybody. But basketball, you can change on the fly and see your success work right then and there.
So when did you first get into coaching?
Once I came back from San Diego a little bit about it. I went to San Diego High. I was a football. I played basketball. I went to Occidental for college for my freshman year to play football, but I got homesick after the first semester. Came back home, went to Mesa. And, once you go to Mesa, that's just saying you back home, you ain't going nowhere else. That's just how it was back then. So I applied for the city of San Diego to be a recreation leader, and I got hired. And when you coach your kids at the rec, you got to coach every sport. So I started coaching basketball, and that kept going from there.
So I want to touch on something that you just talked about. So anybody who knows and watched these last couple of things, we jump around. There ain't no perfect format. You say something that catches my attention, I'm going to jump on it. So you mentioned homesick after that first year of school. I talk to a lot of kids about that. Do you think, with your experience, would you have done anything different? How would you describe that decision to come back home after that first semester?
Well, I think nowadays I would not recommend it to no kid. I mean, the first year is always gonna be your toughest year. But for me, I didn't have the guidance, I should say. I was raised by my grandmother. My mother's in Louisiana, and I didn't have the guidance to push me to stay there. So when I got homesick, I just came home and never went back. And then it was that. But now I'll make sure, like I tell my kids, I tell all the girls I coach right now, or football players, the first year is gonna be your toughest. Once you make it through that first year, it's a cakewalk. And I didn't push myself. So I gave up on myself, and that would happen. I got homesick, came home, and that's what we had now.
And I tell kids the same thing, and it's like, even at the top level. So like the kids that are all Americans, they're in the best facilities, the best universities. The school is invested in them money wise. It's still hard, right? So if you're not at that level where you're at the top 5% of recruits, and you're at a lower level, it's like even harder. So I use that as a comparison. So if it's tough for those All-Americans, you know it's going to be tough for you, and you got to kind of weather that storm. So I appreciate you sharing that experience, because I think a lot of people can learn from, especially the first. Another thing is being San Diego. Like these kids who've never been outside of San Diego think the whole world is San Diego. So
Exactly.
when you leave, and they're such in a hurry to leave, and then you get away, there's no beaches, there's no year-round sun, and all that stuff that they took for granted is another reason why you really have to weather the storm when you first get to that first semester, first year of school.
That's 100% correct. You're absolutely right on that. I mean, it was like you get all this freedom and you don't know what to do with it, and then you start missing your friends and your family, and you can't do what you're used to doing, and you just at school all day. Or it's just a different outlook on. And these kids got to understand that's growing up. That's a part of life, and that's what I try to teach them nowadays.
And even as a parent, it's easier for you to say, for those kids that want to come home, to say, okay, come home, right? It's tough for you to be able to say, I know it sucks, I know it's hard. You kind of gotta weather it, kind of get through it. But as a mom or a dad, you want to make your baby feel good. A lot of times they didn't want them to leave in the first place, so
Exactly.
that kind of adds to the struggle. Let's talk about Madison, right? So we talked about this before. You were at Kearney for how many years?
I was at Kearney for 5 years. Sorry, 5 years.
So when you were at Kearney under the illustrious tutelage of Mr. Bracy Smith, did you see yourself? Was it always something where you wanted to pursue to have your own program, or is it just the opportunity presented when it came? Kind of how did it come about that you made the decision to take over at Madison?
So it's funny because I think we're going to say 2011, maybe 12, whenever his first year was. I was coaching football, and I had his son. I had Lil Bracy out there practicing with me, and he showed up one day. Cause I had stopped coaching basketball. I had been done with basketball about 2 or 3 years. I was just focusing on football. He came like, man, I just got the Kearney job. I need a JV coach. I was like, man, that's a lot of commitment.
That's just how he sounds too. That's just how he sounds.
I said, that's a big commitment, man. I said, and he said, man, I need you, man. Me and Bracy go back, little story right here. We go back to probably since we was 12, 13 years old. We were playing basketball together. I've been knowing him and Freddie and Talib, all those guys all my life since I've been out here. And we just been good friends with the high school together and stuff. But at the same time, he was like, man, I ain't got nobody else. I need to get this stuff in. The AD's pressuring me. I said, I'll do it for you this year, but don't count on it after this. So we get out there. I go do all my stuff. The first day of practice, I loved it. Tryouts, I loved it. And from that point, I fell in love with the girls game because I've never really been invested in the girls' side of basketball. And it just seemed so easy. And so we went there, and he taught me a lot. And then as the time went on, I started learning a lot. And I was like, man, I think if I get a chance, I can make something happen in the right environment. So, and that's how it got going. And we had been in the Central League at that time. And that time you stayed in your same league. And we had the Coronados, the Point Lomas, the Christians, Hoovers and Crawfords, and Madison. And Madison and Kearney, I don't know if you've ever been to those games, but that's the natural rivalry. It's like a mile apart. The kids don't like each other, and that gym is packed on Friday nights. And I was like, man, this is crazy. And Madison, for some reason, always had athletes, but just like they didn't put the pieces to the puzzle. I love Aaron that was there before me. Aaron was a great guy. I know him since high school, and he did everything he can. But I was like, if I get a chance to get that spot, I'm gonna go for it. And that was the only spot I told him I'd go for it. And it opened up. He told me interview. I talked to a couple of the coaches, and I talked to Marlon. I talked to a couple of the coaches, and they were like, "Go ahead, it's your time." He said, "You can't go no further down. They're in D5 already." So I took the job, and that's how I got over there.
It's funny because I did the opposite. My first year head coach was in D1, and we could definitely go a whole lot further down after the first year of us taking our lumps. So I want to go back to you talked about that first day of tryouts, and I've talked with actually it's come up in the last 3 interviews we've done where I talked to coaches who's a lot of girls coaches. The story is similar where their experience starts with coaching boys. For you though, coaching boys football, right? So I can't imagine how much different it was coaching boys football to then go to coaching girls basketball. Is that kind of what you saw that was surprising to you? That was kind of maybe the exciting part of the tremendous difference in those dynamics?
Well, it's funny because I coached boys basketball before, but when you got boys, it's a different nature of the beast. They go out there, you got everybody want to be the next Kobe, the next Michael. They crossing over, shooting threes. You got there with the girls, they can't even dribble a basketball when you step out there. And it's like you're teaching them. You're teaching girls to learn the game. You see what you're teaching them and invested in them, and you start showing. That makes it more satisfying. And then I mean, it's like, man, this is fun, and I'm teaching. Like, this is my 5th year, but I'm still new to it because I'm still learning as I go. I mean, I'm fresh. I can't wait till the season get going because it's like it don't get boring for me. You know what I mean? I'm still learning stuff as I go.
No, I remember being at a game and you were asking. I think might have been sitting with Bracy and Freddie, and you was asking for some advice about. I was like, man, you were the one in the ship. Don't ask us for no advice. You the one with the ring, so you off to a good start. I want to talk about that first year. Let's say, what were your expectations going into that first season, and then what was the reality of that first season?
Oh man, that's crazy because coming from Kearney, we had won 4 straight league championships. We had went to CIF finals 2 years prior. We lost to RB like 3 years in a row, and like it's kind of I'll get to that story, but we played RB and they had this great team, and we lost them in the ship. We lost them in the semifinals. We lost to them in the first round. But my first year going there, I was like, man, I'm going to be just like Kearney. I'm going there. I want to play whoever want to play me. I'm going to go in here and get these girls right. We're going to go out there and compete. I scheduled pretty tough, and it didn't work out the way I wanted to. I mean, we got in the league. We got into that. We only won 4 games that year, and so one game was about forfeit. So, I mean, but I'll take it however I get it. But, but I mean, the girls played hard, but the level of expectation wasn't what I expected it to be. So it made me revamp after that year. But I finally got a full year under my belt the second year. So it made me revamp. But the first year, I loved that team. They played hard 100%. But I had soccer players, I had girls that played tennis. I had 2 true basketball players on that team. And it showed. I mean, but I scheduled because I just think, he's going to be easy. And I got humbled real quick.
No, trust me. Last year, to this day, I still hold a little animosity to a couple of my friends, Chris Croce and Tristan. They both got on me early. As soon as I got the job, we scheduled, and I think they beat us by a combined 200 points. So lesson learned when you make that first schedule, be careful who you pick.
Exactly.
So when you went from that transition, what was the key? Like, I know we had talked about this before in our previous interview, but one of the big things, you got to transfer, right? That's when Megan had transferred. Yeah. So talk about the transition from year 1 to year 2.
So after year 1 was over, I lost a lot of seniors that year. That team was senior heavy. So we were basically in a rebuilding process. I had a couple freshmen I kept on varsity that first year, so I didn't know what to expect. We're working out. We're playing summer ball, and I get an email. An email comes and it says, hey, coach, I'm just trying to wonder when's the next workout. I'm transferring in from Texas. So I was like, a transfer coming to Madison, and so I was like, it was like, okay, it's just another girl. So she sent me a highlight film from Texas as a freshman. And I was like, I showed my coach. I was like, man, you see this? So I called my AD. I said, hey, I got this girl transferring. He said, hey, don't talk to her yet. Wait till everything, make sure it's all approved and all that. So, but once Megan came in that year, Megan was a stud. I mean, she's a great kid, and she really helped build this program to what it is. But I also got Cameron and Imani came in that year as true freshmen. And then, I mean, the pieces just start falling. So I was like, man, this team could be pretty good. I was like, at least we could try to compete for a league championship. The problem with that was Christian hired Vicky, and Vicky Horizon just closed, and that team was loaded, as everybody know. And there were only 2 league losses that year, but it helped us prepare for the playoffs.
No, I would definitely – I mean, you definitely expect to have a team – of that caliber in that Central League that year, but I'm guessing those 2 games you played during the league probably really helped prepare your team as you got into the CIF playoffs.
Yes, it did. So I mean, we had a good season. We finished 10-2 in league. I think we finished like 17-4 or 5 overall. Got the number 1 seed in D5. So it was pretty good. I mean, I didn't expect it to be that good that year, but we were pretty good. We got to the playoffs. We got a favorable draw. So we played Croatia the first round, and we had played them during the regular season. We beat them, and then we played no, actually, it was the second round. We had a bye the first round. Then we played Foothills that had Ellie, her first year here, and she was just a one-man wrecking crew. And that was how I said when I was at Kearney, we played Rancho Bernardo all 3 of those years. And when I came to Madison, I ended up playing Ellie all 3 of my years in the playoffs.
3 years,
yeah. So, I mean, and it was crazy. But the girls put it together. We ended up playing Hoover, which was one of our league opponents. We'd already played them twice. And it was a closer game than the CIF game, but it made it fun. It was our first championship and at the school ever. So, I mean, it was great. So, I mean, it was fun that first year.
So in that first year, you mentioned so when you played Foothills, that was the semifinal game, right?
Yes.
Okay. That was a tough matchup. I was really impressed that you guys were able to pull it off with the game plan. If you don't mind, talk about what the thought process and the game plan was going into that game, with such a talented scorer. And you guys are probably the underdog going into that game, even though you're number 1 seed. But talk about the prep leading up to that game.
Well, I mean, we had saw Foothills all year. I hadn't seen her play to maybe the last game of the season. And I watched her. I was like, wow, this girl don't miss a shot. I mean, she was shooting from all over the place, and she was just making passes, making her team better. So, I mean, in order for us to beat them, my first goal was don't let nobody else score. Let her score 40, and hopefully we could score 41. And then, but we came out that game, and my style is kind of different. I know using Stevie play. We play a control the tempo game. We zone you up. We'll match up if we have to, and we want to run when we can, but we want to control the tempo of the game. And with her, she came out and the first quarter, I think she scored 14 points, and we were up 17-14. And I was like, we got to go to a box and 1. And I just started throwing different bodies at her, and it kind of frustrated her. And I think that was my key because that's the way I played her every year, every game since then. It was kind of successful.
So for the first time you did that, was that something that you might have had like in your back pocket to go to, or was that just a straight up on the fly in-game adjustment you made?
I was on the fly. I just threw my most athletic girl on there, and I say I got 15 fouls to use against her. I'll just throw 3 different girls at her. And Asia Shahid, which everybody knows her now, but she was a freshman, but she's the fastest girl in San Diego in track. So, and all she do is play defense for me. She'll make a layup, but she's not going to shoot a jumper. She's not going to do that. And she just frustrated her. And that's how we were successful.
What would you say? What lessons did you learn? We talk about the CIF game that you were at Kearney, and whenever I want to upset Bracy, I'll just randomly bring that game up because I always like to mess with him because we played the game after that. So I always like to bring that. Whenever I'm really messing with him, I'll bring that game up, and I could just see him go to this place of stress and sadness and depression. But what lessons did you learn from that experience of having been to the CIF championship game, even though as an assistant coach, to when you got there as a head coach?
Well, the first thing you gotta keep the girls under composure because even though whether it's in the Vials Arena or you're playing at Sarah High School, it don't matter. It's a big game, so the girls are more hyper and everything else. So you got to make sure they stay under control because things could turn bad real fast. I mean, and with Bracy, we just had that. I mean, I applaud him because that game. I mean, we had some freak accidents that game. We had the concussion at gate, but both our girls got concussions and they were out. We fought back getting the game, and one thing Bracy taught me, if you know him, there's nothing that really rattles him. I mean, no. Bracy stays under composure.
Even when I want him to be rattled, he don't get rattled.
Yeah, so I mean, he stays under composure, and to me, I was like a little firecracker, and he was like, and I just learned from him, and that's why I'm kind of more calm and composed now because I mean that dude. I mean, we could be up by 20. We played Chris one game the first year of that season, and we went up there and Chris beat us by like 80 points, and he was like, "Oh man, don't worry about it. Ain't nothing." I'd be like, "Man, we lose by 80 points." And he's like, "They gotta learn. And stuff like that. It made me a better coach because I mean, I watch him, Orland. I watch you guys just go out there and it's nothing rattles people. It'll be like, man, how can they stay so calm? But I mean, I actually it's a feature that you want to have, because if the girls see you get intense or something like that, or start nervous, they'll get nervous. So everybody stay calm, and I mean, it's great. I mean, that's something I learned and I try to get better at over the years.
I think you mentioned a good point that I had never even really thought about is you talk about the challenge it is to keep the girls composed. And I think it's probably even a bigger challenge. I know it has to be when you're playing in the lower levels, right? Because if you're the cathedrals, the Christians, the country, every game's a big game. Everybody's caring, everybody watches. It's the marquee game. But for when you guys start making that deep run, semifinals, championship game, all of a sudden they have more spotlight attention on them than they probably had all season. So it's even a bigger challenge for you guys to really, hey, this is a regular game, manage those expectations. Did you notice that, or do you pick up on that?
Yeah, I did though, that because the like you said, the lights get brighter as you go on, and the girls for especially for a school like us that have never been there. I mean, by that time they're already on the track, running track, or they're doing something else by then. I mean, we did have some deep runs the last couple of years, and with the news coming to the gym for practice, or the newspaper interviewing them and stuff like that, and it just, you can see the eyes like they're deer with headlights. I mean, you know what I mean? And you got to keep them composed, because stuff like that, you can lose them real fast. You know what I mean? And we try to work on that and keep our team as a family. And I mean, it's been working the last couple of years.
So after year one, you guys win it. You bump up to Division 4. What are obviously you always believe in your team, right? But what are your expectations when there is a division jump? Like, what is that? Because you're the defending champs, but it's also a new division. So how do you manage those expectations in terms of what you think is realistic for your team going into that next season?
Well, after the D5 win, I didn't lose. I lost one player, and that was my Ileana. So we were real young. So I still felt that we hadn't hit our peak yet. So I just to me, it was gonna be a special year, but it's only how special we made it. We could overplay ourselves, we could underplay ourselves, because everybody's gonna be watching what Madison's doing, because they know what we did. I mean, we're not a big dog, we're not the Mission Hills or places, but I mean, we're the D5 champs, so they know moving up, the bullseye is gonna be on us. And that year, I mean, everything just started falling into place. I mean, we played great, and we started the season, and then I mean, we lost 3 games that year. We lost 3 games that season, but we lost to Grossmont, which was D2. We lost to Lincoln, which was D2 or D1, and our third loss was to Morris, and which was a D2 or D2 team. So I mean, we were battle tested, but we had some big wins that year too. So I mean, the girls played good, and we got Christian out the league, and then we won league for the first time since 1981, and it was kind of special. But I mean, the Ellie game that we played Foothills in championship, and Foothills was really the favorite that year, because they had picked up Natalie and Aranza with Ellie. I mean, I didn't know what to. I mean, we just played them. I mean, we didn't know what to expect, but the girls played hard that game.
Yeah, I actually that one was that UCSD?
No, that was at Sarah.
Sarah, okay. I remember talking to Coach Turk about that, and he was very complimentary of. I talked to him the next day. He's very complimentary of you guys, and was was praising the game plan you had. So again, it was tough before they had those other 2 kids who I'm quite familiar with, having coached both of them that you mentioned, Natalie and Aranza. But then adding them to Ellie made an already really tough challenge even that more difficult. How would you rate that championship? I mean, obviously it's the first one, but what was the sense of satisfaction being that it was year 2, defending champs, and a higher division?
Of course, the first one was special, but the second one was more special, because I think the girls bought into everything the whole year. I mean, from the end of their first championship, they knew to repeat or even try to get back there, it was going to take a lot. And because we were so young, we had the majority of the team with us throughout the summer and spring and fall. They bought in, and there was never no negativity, and it showed on the court. And it was real. It was to me, the number 2 was the special one.
So you win 2 in a row. Now I know I had started messing with you as soon as you won the second one. I'm thinking, okay, every year you're gonna win one. So now you're D3, right?
Yes.
So This one, I was just checking. So you guys were below 500 headed into the playoffs, right?
Oh man, this season was crazy. We were below. We finished the season 12-16.
Was that how much was that attributed to a tougher schedule though?
Well, it was a
Because you
tribute
brought
to
back everybody again, right?
well, yeah, that's it. We were young. We brought back everybody except Mariah. But here go the thing. So we won D2. I mean, we won D4. Sorry, in February. We played in state, made our state run. So our season went to about March, middle of March. 2 weeks later, in a powder puff game,
Never fails.
Megan tears her ACL.
Never fails.
Megan tears her ACL. Imani breaks her wrist. And I mean, so we're the off season that year was brutal. I mean, we were never at full stretch. So coming to the season, we knew we had everybody. We had the pieces to win it all, but we didn't know we were going to have everybody back in place. Megan, not nothing against Megan, but she did a hell of a job to get back to being on the court. She never was 100% throughout the season, but she did that. Imani started off the season injured and just couldn't get right to the second half of the season. Then we were in the tougher league, which is the Eastern League, and we scheduled tough. And I mean, we started off good. I think we started out like 6-1, got to the Crawford tournament, and everything went downhill from there. And then, I mean, we just try to battle. And I told the girls, our goal is to make the playoffs. I mean, we weren't worried about league. We wasn't worried about nothing else. Just get to the playoffs to get healthy. And all year we were planning on the playoff. We were planning on playoffs, just try to get better each game. So we used the season as practice just to get. Hopefully, by the time the playoffs come, we'd be healthy. And once the playoffs came, I didn't know what to expect because our final game was senior night against Lincoln, and Lonnie jumped on me. It was like 42-19 at halftime. Lala got about 25 points, and they're just kicking our butts. And we go into halftime. I tell the girls, and I slam the door. I go in there and tell them, hey, this is you guys' season. You guys want to play like this? We got one more game after this. Or you guys want to turn it around? Now's the time to show me. And we go out there, and we make a hell of a comeback. We end up losing the game by only 4, but it was a great comeback, and it showed the fight that we had. So I was kind of happy to see what we're going to do in the playoffs. And to be honest, that D3 bracket was tough, but I just felt if I could stay away from Foothills early, because I thought Foothills was a favorite. I mean, Point Loma was a good team, don't get me wrong, but I just didn't think they had played the type of schedule everybody else had played, and not to knock nothing against them because they were a real good team, but I end up falling on the side of the bracket with Foothills and Helix, and we played a real good Fallbrook team in the first round.
I was about to ask you, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, we didn't know what to expect. We had to drive out to Fallbrook. We pulled that one out, and then we went to Helix and we upset them, which was kind of shocking because we didn't expect to do that. You know what I mean? So I was like, man, we got Foothills numbers, so hey, we got a chance here, and we get to the Foothills.
I want to talk about the Helix game. So what's the text conversation? What's the chats like leading up to that game between you and Freddie? I mean, it's I know it's fun, and you know you guys are boys, family, brothers. Let's play off. So what's that conversation like leading up to that game?
Well, once we beat Foothills, because Helix Gym hadn't been open all year, so I'm like, man, we could play this at Madison and text him, we could make it happen. He's like, no, but I mean, Freddie stays even keel. I mean, we talk back and forth. I mean, and one thing about me and Freddie and Bracy, everybody that knows us, that I mean, we take things serious, but I mean, we got each other's back no matter what. And so Freddie, because we had played him earlier in the year and he beat us. I think he kind of underestimated us a little bit, and he was back in his home gym for the first game of the season. So I mean, and my girls just played their butts off, man. They played their butts off, and it was no love lost. After the game, we showed love, we had fun, but I mean, it was kind of quite impressive the way we pulled that one out.
Do you? I have to think that a lot of it, especially for last year, coming off of, not having the greatest regular season. They talk about a lot in the NBA, where like flip the switch. Do you feel like because of your team's playoff experience, they were able to, flip the switch when they got into playoff time?
I definitely feel that was a big factor. By us having those 2 years previous, it helped us flip the switch. And the girls that were behind, they made them catch up faster because I have some girl. My senior class was with Megan, Kanaya, and Nana. They wasn't ready to go home, and they just led the team the whole way. And I mean, we were playoff ready. We knew it, and it showed because our previous years, the experience we had.
So you have Imani and Cameron coming back. One of the unfortunate outcomes of COVID is I didn't get the chance to work. I've been trying to get Cameron to come play for us for the last couple of years.
Man, I finally made it happen.
We finally get out there. We've got a gym packed full of kids, and then COVID happens. I don't get to work with her. But talk about those two. I mean, this will be their senior year. Talk about obviously the impact they've had on the program under your watch, and then kind of what you expect from them going into the senior season.
So, I mean, everybody that knows Cameron's just a great kid. I mean, overall, she's 4-point-something student, ASB president. She's a leader on off the court. But they just don't realize how much of a good basketball player she is. I mean, her basketball IQ is probably real high the more coaches. She sees stuff that other people don't see. And the thing with Cameron was she was always timid about attacking the basket the first couple of years. And then last year she started being more aggressive, and it showed, and she could flat out shoot the rock. Everybody know that. She leave her open, she could shoot the rock. And I mean, she's like a coach on the floor for me. And it's gonna this year's gonna show dividends if and when we get to play, because I mean, a kid like that, all 4 years, she's been a great leader for the team. Now Imani, who's my other senior coming in, a lot of people don't know her, and it's funny because when they see her, they're like, "Oh, who's this girl? What's she gonna do?" But Imani's a baller. Imani's a baller. I mean, she probably got some of the top ball handling skills in the county that she don't put to use too often, because she's been having to play the post a little bit. But I mean, this year I'm gonna let her run free. And I think if she's gonna be if people that don't know her will know who she is after this season.
I love the way she controls the game. She plays. She's one of those kids. When I watch kids that handle the ball a lot, I look to see if they allow the defense to speed them up. And she's going to play at the pace and the speed that she wants to play, which is a sign of someone, really confident in their ability. What Megan's loss is going to be huge. How do you plan on replacing that production?
Well, I mean, we lose Megan, which was a loss. We lose, but we did get a transfer in. We got a transfer in from one of the private schools. That's just step in and fill Megan's spot. So I mean, the word, I haven't been on campus yet. We got everything's online, but the word is we got 2 girls that transferred in, which surprised me. It feels kind of good when girls want to transfer to Madison. So I mean, I got if with these 2 girls, I think this might be our best team out the 5 years.
Well, as somebody that's going to be in the league with you, I don't like hearing that. So let's talk about this crazy off season. How have you managed it? And I've talked about it with a lot of coaches, getting a lot of different perspective on kind of how they've managed these unique times. What kind of things have you been doing to kind of keep in touch with your kids, keep connected with them, keep them engaged, again, during this tough virtual world we're living in now?
I kind of ain't been the coach I should be with during this time, because, I mean, and you remember we had a long state run this year. So we played that last state semifinal, and all this COVID stuff happened the next day, basically. So we since then we have Zoom meetings. We don't have as many as we should. I have the girls doing their own workouts, but I mean, as a group, we finally got together as a group last weekend, and we had a barbecue at the beach, which was fun to see all the girls again, because I mean, as a coach, you know that when you're used to seeing these girls daily throughout the year, then you then went 6 months, you haven't seen one of them in 6 months. I'm like, wow, you know what I mean? It made it more special. But I mean, now we're going to start getting to workouts and stuff starts lightening up, and I just want to get them back on the court. I mean, once I get them back on the court, then I can be able to have fun. That's where I get my relaxation at, getting them out there, teaching them stuff, and getting them ready for the season.
So you're also our league rep. What kind of things have you heard? What kind of new things are on the horizon, or anything that is that maybe helpful or people might not be aware about what's going to be going on with this upcoming season?
Well, I mean, they say it's going to be a regular well, I'm not going to say a regular season because nothing regular about this year, but we're going to have our full season, 28 games. They put to lower the minimum games from like 15 to maybe 12. But they were talking about the city league trying to realign the leagues with the boy girls in the same league. We can have the natural double headers. But I think the principal shot that down. So I mean, right now it's like nobody knows. I mean, nobody knows, especially with us. I think with us at San Diego Unified, I think we don't get we're behind the 8 ball because all these other schools are in their gyms. They got access to their facilities, which I understand. And I mean, I'm not knocking the San Diego Unified. I love San Diego Unified, but I just feel that they're putting us behind the 8 ball because we're not getting that work. And I can't put the shooting machine out there, get up 1,000 shots at the park. You know what I mean? We can do that on the blacktop, but I mean, I guess the kids' safety is first. I mean, to me, I would hate to see us not have a season because you got these seniors that they work so hard to at least just have their final year. So whatever it takes to make sure we have a season, I'm for. But at the same time, I just think that they need to let us back in the gyms. And your AD is cool with the big AD, so he needs to go ahead and tell Ron to go ahead and put a good word in.
Oh, trust me, I'm in his ear all the time. And it's funny, I don't know if people believe me, but I say all the time, I have 2 softball players. One of them is a senior, and I want her to be able to have a softball season. Like, because as much as it would pain me that we don't have basketball, we had basketball last year. These spring sport kids didn't have a spring last year. So if they go 2 years without a sport, that to me, that would be devastating. So as much as I want to get on the court, I'm really hoping that these spring sport athletes that had lost their season last year get to play this year. I know you have dabbled in the spring sports. You and Bracy did some softball stuff, so I know you can relate to those softball kids not having potentially missing out on 2 seasons.
Well, yeah, I definitely think we owe the spring kids, spring programs a season, no matter what, if it came down to it, because they lost out last year. I mean, and I got girls that do spring sports, so they're gonna be trying to juggle 2 sports, or maybe not play one. And so, I mean, it's going to be hard, but I mean, I definitely think that some way, somehow, we got to be able to push these seasons, even if it's modified. As long as we put something together to make sure the kids are safe, and then, I mean, just go from there.
And we can do it. Like, it's not going to be ideal. Like, I think the problem is I forget where I heard it, but it was when somebody on ESPN was saying it when they were trying to come up with scenarios for the NBA bubble and the different leagues. And it was like, don't let the fact that you're looking for perfection cause you to not try anything, right? So
exactly.
If we're going to be able to do something, it's not going to be perfect. It's not going to be what we're used to, but we can't let the fact that it's not going to be what it used to be cause us to shoot down every idea or every thought. Because like you said, we got to give these kids a season.
Exactly. And I'm 100% that. I mean, most of these kids been down since March. I mean, now some kids been fortunate enough to go play some games out of state or in state, wherever they're at. But I mean, that's only a very few, 10%, maybe 20% of. You got the other 80% we got to worry about those kids, and it become the stuff that you can watch kids. The mental issue now, it's become a mental aspect of it. You know, some of these kids, you don't know what kind of home life they got going. The outlet is going to school, outlet is playing sports, and that was taken away from them. Now they're home trying to deal with whatever home life. I mean, I know me as a kid, when I was a kid, I wanted to stay far away from home as long as I can. You know what I mean? Because I know when I go home, that's reality kick in. I mean, I could be Michael Jordan out there all day long, but once the street lights come on, I got to go inside. It's back to reality again. You know what I mean? And it ain't like I had a bad childhood upbringing. It's just that's the natural fact of
it. And for a lot of coaches, or for a lot of kids, coaches are father figures, mother figures, teammates are brothers and sisters. That, again, it's that we play, we keep score, but there's so much more to the dynamics of being on a team that have been lost with this, that, like you said, that is taken for granted, and is important. Why it's bigger than just the outcome of a game, that we really got to get these kids back together, back to playing these sports in some sense of normalcy. I want to talk about your first love, like you mentioned. So talk about how you got into coaching youth football, how long you've been doing youth football, and and just, what it is about it that you enjoy so much.
Oh man, I played football as a kid at Balboa Raiders. That's who I was with as a kid till I got to San Diego High. Once I came back and got settled back from the college tryout, got back to Mesa, I decided I wanted to try to start giving back. So I started coaching at Balboa in 1998, and I've been there ever since. So that's 22 years we've been this year.
Wow.
So I mean, I've been there, and I love it, man. It's nothing like coaching the youth football, seeing these kids that start playing at 5, and then seeing them all the way up to their 14. You see the growth in them. I know, and it has good and bad. I mean, but at the same time, I love it. I love to travel. We travel all the time, and that's why I don't play no tournaments in early December because I'm in Florida every year. But I mean, the football part. I mean, just giving back to me is all about giving back because when I was a kid, I had to have a coach. It wasn't as big as it is now, but coach, somebody gave back to me to make sure I had that outside role model. You know what I mean? So now to me, that's why I look at myself as a role model. I give back to these kids, and I don't got no kid out there playing. My daughters cheer. You know what I mean? But I love it, and I wouldn't change nothing in the world. I mean, seeing the smiles on these kids' faces, even when we lose and they cry, I mean, it shows the emotion, that the effort they put into it. I mean, if they're with their heart's in it, and that's all that you ask for.
Something that me and Bracy talk about a lot, and I'm sure you can relate, is the beauty of that, the youth sports, the club sports, is the amount of kids you get to touch, right? When you coach your high school kids, you coach your high school kids. But for me, I enjoy, I never want our season to end. But when our season does end, I'm still at the CIF championship game, pulling for kids and supporting kids that I've coached in the summers. So it's that relationship that you build, not just with the kids in your program, but basically kids throughout the county. Is that something that you can relate to?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and that's why Friday nights. I mean, I coach at Madison football, so I mean, I'm on JV. But as soon as the JV game over, which I'm on that bus and I'm out. They know me. I'm on the bus right back, and I try to see all my kids playing throughout the year. I mean, I be as much as I can, but it's a beautiful thing to see kids out there, and a lot of that stuff they're doing right now, stuff that you taught them, and then the best part of it when you got kids 30 years. Like for me, I got kids I see 25 years old. I mean, Coach Bill, how you doing? Coach, this
no better
is the
feeling.
best time of my life. Exactly. I mean, so like you said, you can't touch everybody, but the ones you touch, I mean, it shows.
So I'm going to get you out of here. I need to apologize to Andrea because I didn't do my 5 questions with her to wrap up the interview. So I'm going to make sure I have to find a way to send her the flyer so we can get those 5 questions. But I'm going to give you your 5 questions. So the first one is, what is your dream vacation?
My dream vacation is Cabo, and I'm going next year.
Awesome. Nothing like being able to take that dream vacation. Favorite basketball coach?
Favorite basketball coach is Jerry Tarkanian.
Why?
I just love his energy, his fire, but at the same time he was laid back, and he was a coach that let his kids play. You know what I mean? And I just like this style. To me, that that's who I want to model myself out. But I just got that fire like he got.
Favorite basketball player?
Allen Iverson.
Oh, mine too. Why?
I love his story for one. How he made himself after the unfortunate incident, but on the court he's a firecracker. I mean, he's a leader, and he was a small guy. You know what I mean? So he played amongst trees, and he held his own, and it was a beautiful thing.
The way you could always tell a player's impact, and you see it, obviously you see it with Kobe. Unfortunately, it was after his untimely death. But the way, if you hear people talk about Iverson, it's like he was a lot of kids' Jordan. A lot of kids that are in the league now, he was their Jordan. Just like a lot of kids coming up now, LeBron will be their Jordan. So that's the ultimate sign of respect is while you're living and while you're playing, when people show you that kind of respect and love. Favorite basketball movie?
Favorite basketball movie is Love and Basketball.
Why?
I just love the storyline. I love the storyline, how you had a girl that works hard to try to get to her level, that it shows the hard work pays off, and you had a kid that was arrogant, basically hand-fed, had everything he needed, and in the long run, you see how it goes. The kid that works hard gets the goal.
And as a coach of girls basketball, you have to know that one because I think that's every girl basketball's favorite basketball movie
Exactly.
too. And then last one, what's your favorite meal?
My favorite meal. Oh man, I love gumbo.
Ooh. Wait. Let me back up. So you said you moved to San Diego when you were young. Where'd you move from?
New Orleans.
It had to be. That's what I figured. It had to be someone from the South talking about some gumbo.
Yeah.
So being that you're here, how often do you get gumbo?
Not as well. The gumbo that you have here is not gumbo for one, but so I really only get it when my mom come to visit or I go down back home. I get authentic gumbo. So I mean, it makes me enjoy it more now. You know what I mean?
Yeah, my family's originally from the South, so I spent some time down there. So yes, there's a difference between gumbo that's what do you say north of the Mason-Dixon than gumbo in the South. It's definitely not the
Exactly.
same. So, hey, Coach, I really appreciate your time. Had a blast. Look forward to chatting. Oh, one more thing. Is it official? Can I give you congratulations on the air?
Yes, it is.
So soon to be welcomed into the world of grandfatherhood. And anybody who knows me that sees me on social media, there is nothing like it. You think you know what it is? I'm telling you right now, you have no idea. It's a game changer. So I want to congratulate you on being a grandfather soon. Much love to your daughter and best of luck on all of that. And again, I thank you for the time and look forward to talking to you soon.
All right, thank you. Always fun talking with you, man. Thank you.